Happy Saturday, my friends. Today we're going to talk about coercive control because that is something that is, pardon the noises, having some issues. Because, life, just stay there. Okay. So I apologize. I've been working on a new song today, so I'm a little bit distracted, but today we're going to talk about coercive control. And I wanted to talk about this for several reasons. One being that it's a tactic that they do use in the troubled teen industry. However, sorry, Elvis. Any of us who've been in toxic relationships can say, that they know all about the coercive control. So what coercive control is a form of psychological or emotional abuse where one person uses a pattern of behavior to dominate and isolate somebody else. Often in intimate relationships, I had this. Unlike physical abuse, coercive control can be subtle and insidious, yet just as damaging. So some tactics that people who use, hey, Fuzzy, I know, right? I had to rock the actual king today. Just, subliminal messages. That's all I'm saying. So some tactics that abusers we'll just call them abusers use is isolation, like cutting you off from your friends, your family, or your support system. They monitor your technology, your phone. A lot of times what I noticed, at least for myself, is that they want to monitor all of your stuff, but they don't want you to look at anything of theirs, right? Can't get into their stuff. Their stuff's locked down, and if you get into it, boy, you're in trouble. Luckily, my abuser was too stupid to know to lock his stuff up, so he was kind of easy to bust. And of course, there's the gaslighting, which is manipulating someone into doubting their own memory or perception. So you get in a fight and someone, puts you up against the wall, and then the next day you talk about it and they're like, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? That's not what happened. Oh, you have a migraine? The fourth day. Oh, I'm so sorry, Misha. So there's financial control as well. A lot of times people will hold on to your money in order to keep you from getting away. Threats and intimidation is a big one, obviously. You use fear to maintain control over somebody. And then there's sexual coercion or control over body autonomy. And some of these might seem like they're extreme, but they're not. I mean, these are pretty average. Hello, Cosmic. It's really good to see you. So what makes coercive control especially harmful is that it chips away at a person's sense of self, their freedom, their safety, usually without any visual scars because, no marks, right? It is illegal in some countries like the UK, but in most places, especially a lot of places around the United States, it's not always recognized as a standalone crime unless it escalates to physical violence. And this is something that really gets under my skin because I just went through a family issue with somebody who is very narcissistic, and I'm glad it's a crime in Australia, and manipulative and really was using coercive control with their family member as well as all around them. And it's something that's been very much on my mind this year for personal reasons of varying degrees. But I just feel like it also does tie into the troubled teen industry. So, this is what staff do. You'll get therapists or counselors And some of them play, they'll play that good cop, bad cop thing. And you've got somebody who's like, really, hey, everybody say hi to Lindsay. How you doing, babe? Glad to see you here. Looks like you might have finally got off the phone, at least for a little bit. So we're talking about coercive control and the fact that it's illegal in Australia now, which is really great, but it's not even really seen as an actual crime in the United States. And I was speaking on some things regarding my personal life, but mainly right now tying it into the troubled teen industry, because counselors they'll be really nice to you and make you feel special and give you special privileges or whatever. And then, there'll be staff members that are also like that. And they're really just manipulating and using you to see what's going on with other kids or to see if you're hiding anything. I appreciate that, Lindsay. Thank you. I thought it was a pretty darn good topic myself. So I want to get more into some, specific forms, some specific tactics of coercive control, like isolation. Isolation is like convincing you that your family and friends are toxic, that everybody else in your life is toxic, but this person, right? Or insisting on shared social media accounts for transparency. And then, back to what we said before, monitoring or limiting your interactions with others. People use surveillance. I know for a fact that the TTI programs have cameras throughout their facilities. I do believe that they still haven't put them in the bedrooms, because that would be, not like the industry isn't creepy enough already, but that would be like insane if they did that. But surveillance is a big thing. And I just want to let everybody know that I'm going to get to the comments. I think what I want to do is like talk about a couple of things first, and then like, go through some comments, and then, go back and forth. I'm trying to be a little bit more, not professional. That's such a silly word, but I'm trying to be more on topic and something that people can follow. So let's see. Oh, hi, Bubbles. Hello, everyone. I'm new here. Recently had my eyes open to TTI, and then YouTube suggested your channel to me. Thank you, Bubbles. I'm really happy to hear that. And welcome. Are you a survivor of a troubled teen industry program, or have you just heard about it, or did you know somebody that was sent away? I'm just curious. You don't have to tell me your life. I'm just nosy. So let's see. Indigo, you said, I had my ex convince people in my life that I was crazy. I was the crazy one and would throw fits when I tried to see my family once a week. Yeah, that is very much what was very interesting that Cosmic said, which is usually anything that she says. It should be considered. Oh, about coercive control. It's not backdated, so it won't help you. Well, yeah, but moving forward, it might, and unfortunately, might have to look into that. But yeah, Bubbles, it's really, really nice to meet you. I'm super happy that you came. Hello, John. How's my buddy? When are we getting together for whatever kind of, I don't drink coffee, but I highly doubt you want to go to a high tea with me and get all fancied up. But thanks for being here. We're going over coercive control, and I was just talking about isolation and surveillance. And then now we're going to talk a little bit about restricting autonomy and gaslighting. So restricting autonomy, like not allowing someone to work, go to school, or even leave the house without permission or having them be with you. They might take your keys or control your access to everything. I have a personal example. My abuser, the last time that we were together, he had taken every interior door of our apartment off, including the bathroom. So there were no doors for me to run and lock behind me except for the door to go outside. And we were on the second floor and had a metal staircase going down. So that could be kind of dangerous at times, I'm sure you can imagine. So those kind of things about, autonomy. And but I mean, there's a lot of, they'll make sure that you don't leave the house. They can put tracking, like if you have iPhones, for example. Obviously, people with iPhones know that, hi Christy, that you can find each other, anywhere. But sometimes, even if you think of like turning that off, they can also install apps to monitor you anyway, whether you know it or not, right? So, and then obviously there's the gaslighting. I think that this is the one that we talk the most about, right? Like, I don't feel like the others are covered as much as gaslighting. I hear gaslighting a lot, but so that's obviously like denying things they did or said. That never happened. I don't remember that. You're crazy. Your memory is just wrong, like it's all in your imagination. You're too sensitive, and then I believe from everyone in here except for our gentle giant, hi area, we can understand, being intimidated by the gaslighting. But I also have examples of gaslighting in the troubled teen industry. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on. Okay. Actually, what is it? It's called Hibberg, Mississippi, Bethesda Home for Girls. You went and visited the home and researched its story. Wow. Yeah, it's, I'm really glad to hear that people are actually starting to just find out about things and research it, because for decades, literally decades, this wasn't talked about. This is something that's really only been, I would say, about 10 years that people have been speaking out, but only about 5 years since, Hattiesburg. Okay. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Gotcha. Thanks, Bubbles. It's like, what is Heiberg? I apologize. You know, in the last 5 years, and not just due to Paris Hilton, she's not the only survivor who spoke out. She's just the most high, what's the word? What is wrong with me? She's the only well-known person who's opened up and spoke out. Hey, Kimbe, good to see you, babe. And I forgot to drop a link in our group to let everybody know that I was going to be starting my daily lives again today. So welcome back. All right. So, there's financial control, like giving you an allowance, taking your paycheck, or forbidding you from having a bank account or credit card. For me, I can take this all the way back to a teenager whenever I wasn't in a inpatient program. I lived with my grandma, and she would keep my paychecks. I would have to give her all of my paychecks. Hello, Crystal, darling. I'm giving you a crystal size hug. But I know that, and in the TTI, there are places that are long-term places where you can go to school outside, but you have to all, be together. But there's no money. If you have any money at all, and back when I was a teenager, cigarettes or whatever, that they kept it, and you were not allowed to use that. Then there's manipulating children, and I can only speak to this as having been the child of something like this. So using your kids to spy on each other, or turning them against you, threatening to take them away, if you don't give them what they want. Oh yeah, we'll get into that. There's sexual coercion, pressuring or guilting you into sex, controlling your access to say, contraceptives or reproductive choices. It can get more violent than that, and it can be used as a form of control if it's against your will. And the threats and intimidation, saying things like, if you leave me, I'll ruin your life, or I'll take it, or a lot of times you get the self-harm threats. Like, I can't live without you. I won't live without you. Just all of these manipulative behaviors. And it's very difficult. And so I wanted to know if anybody wanted to share. Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah. So that's Danielle Bregoli, the Cash Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil. She was 13 years old when she and her mother went on the show. They didn't actually know what was going to happen from them being on the show. And she ended up being sent away. And she's an advocate now. I'm quite proud of her for advocating. This poor kid, should think about this. So she goes on this TV show. She's a 13-year-old kid with a chip on her shoulder and a hard life at home. And she's just, not only is she manipulated, but she's being used for ratings, and, and the whole crew. I'm sure McGraw felt the most. You could see it on his face. Like, they loved this. This made for great TV, and this was something that McGraw did for, I think his show ran on television for 20 years, and now he has his own network on the internet, and he's still affiliated with several troubled teen industry programs. He's made at least tens of millions of dollars through the decades, sending kids away to these programs, knowing what they're like. Well, he's actually not even a practicing doctor. He doesn't have a license. But, he's a TV show, and in America, that's all that matters, right? USA, I have a TV show, so, I can do whatever I want, right? Isn't that what our president said? Something about being a celebrity and being able to do whatever you want. I'm not making it up. I just heard the audio. So, yes, the Cash Me Outside girl, definitely. Yeah. Let me see. I want to go back. It was Discovery Ranch, or Turnabout Ranch. Yeah, Turnabout Ranch. Discovery Ranch is another one. There are more troubled teen industry programs, be it therapeutic boarding schools, residential treatment centers, or wilderness camps. Also, conversion therapy camps, or whatever they call those terrible places, mainly in Utah, because they have the least amount of regulations. And of the lower 48, as they would, right here, baby, exploitation for content. It's an age-old industry, and if we're going to be honest, right, it's still happening today on YouTube, on Twitch, on TikTok, on the news. It's still. I don't watch. I don't know about anybody else. I don't watch any mainstream news anymore, because it's all manipulated. Everything, they want you to know is what they tell you. Are you taking off, Misha? I'm really sorry that you're having such a hard time with your conversion therapy is thankfully still illegal here in Australia. We almost had a government who was going to re-allow it. Well, yeah. And unfortunately, I have recently learned that there are starting to be troubled teen industry programs in Australia. I don't believe that they'd gotten around to banning them entirely. And what I've noticed also is a shift in worldview according to what the United States is doing. And since this is something that the United States is doing. All right, Aria, have a great night. Thank you so much for popping in. Really, really appreciate you. Hey, Jojo. How you doing, buddy? So what I'm noticing now, though, is it's starting to spread across other countries now because it's been such a big deal for so long in the United States that they're like, okay, well, not the countries that have already done it: Mexico, Costa Rica, Jamaica, Czech Republic, a lot of the island nations. They already know. Um, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, and in Queensland, they want kids to do adult time for adult crime. They do that here. They do that here. I remember, gosh, this was a really long time ago, maybe 20 years ago. 13-year-old boy was charged and as an adult. Wow, Christy, I'm really sorry. You know, the numbers for that are just, they're just horrible. And it's impossible for us as survivor advocates to know the numbers of how many people we'd lose after programs. But I know that in the last 2 years alone, there have been nine deaths inside programs. Most of them are unaliving, which, you know, I wish somebody would explain that to me like I'm 4 years old, because I really don't understand how people are paying. Just use a place for example, $400 a day to take care of your kid, but they can't take care of your kid enough to make sure that they stay alive. Yeah, again, you know, profit over kids, and that's just the way it is. That's the American way. So, you know, we did pass the SICA Act into law at the end of the year. However, it's not been implemented. There's not been a congressional. I apologize. I have menopause brain, so I'll lose words. His name was Eric. Let's see what Indigo says here. I think in cases where minors are charged as adults, they spend the first part of the sentence in juvie and get transferred to adult prison. Yeah, I was going to say it depends, because I know that 13-year-old kid, he ended up in prison. And thankful to have been led to your channel. I have been submerged in research and data about all of these things. It blows my mind, the lack of regulations over these homes and facilities. Well, you know what, Bubbles, you want to hear something really terrible. In 22 of our lower 48, as we call it, which is whatever. So of the 48 mainland states in America, 22 don't have proper oversight or regulations. And the law that we passed, you know, there's supposed to be a subcommittee put together, but unfortunately it's not a priority to our new administration, which is why I'm grateful they were able to get it through the Senate and the House, and for the president to sign it before the transfer of power, just because it's there. So we can still keep reminding the administration that, hey, y'all are supposed to put a subcommittee together so that you can start researching and investigating these programs, these companies that run these programs, like Family Help and Wellness, NatSap, WASP, UHS. Look at these companies, see where the money's flowing to. Now, I have a feeling that there's probably a good portion of the 33 Republican representatives in the House that voted against our bill who take money, because they are in states where, some of them are in states where the regulations are non-existent, you know, or very minimal regulations. So they just kind of slide under the radar because everybody gets so busy with CPS type of things and and that's another thing I don't think that I've made clear enough on my channel is a third of the children who are sent to troubled teen industry programs go through CPS in one way or another. Either they had an incident and they acted out, or something happened with their parents, and then the state is getting kickbacks from these companies, so they send them usually out of state, usually to Utah nowadays. But they send them out, and they get paid. They get paid handsomely for these kids, and it's pretty sad. Could you hold on for 1 second, please? I'm really sorry. 1 second. I'm sorry. It sounded like a dog was very hurt outside of my door, and I wanted to make sure that that was not the case. Yeah, CPS is absolutely a part. Absolutely. It absolutely is. And I can't say for sure in every state, but in the states where it matters the most, which is the states where where the industry is just out of control. I mean, these are places you're talking about. So Montana, we got last year a law passed in Montana and Missouri and Maryland. But again, there's still 22 states, and it's not that hard to look them up. The Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Utah, Missouri. Even though there are laws there now, it doesn't matter. Like if they're not following through. Yeah. So let's see what Crystal has to say. They send the kids to those places, especially if they can't find a good match in the foster care system. Yes, that is a true story. So kids that can't seem to be placed, or they're not sure how long the placement's going to be because it has something to do with their parents, a lot of those kids get sent. But, Crystal, I don't know what the foster care system is like in Canada, but I know that in the States, it's really bad. I rarely hear, good. I rarely hear good stories. Not saying that. Yeah, Illinois. Oh yeah, Illinois is a big. It's a big. Illinois is another big one. Yes, Bubbles. You literally just spoke my language in a sense. CPS is so full of corruption. I used to work alongside CPS to assist in reunification, preservation, and have seen so much. Yeah, I don't know where you live, Bubbles. I'm in Michigan, and Michigan does tend to lean towards reunification, especially with the mothers. And so as a result of that, a lot of times, I mean, unfortunately, with the drug problems that our country has, their parents lose their lives, and then the kids end up, and they'll age out in these programs, and they haven't done anything wrong except lose a parent. And then they age out, and then they have no skills. I explained this before. Going to at least for me, residential treatment center is what I can speak on from personal experience. And it's like going to Marine boot camp, where they completely strip and break your soul, but they forget to lift you back up as something. They just completely rip your soul out and make you feel like you are garbage, worth nothing. Nothing good is ever going to happen for you. And then they just let you out into the world. And I just kind of sat around for 38 years. This is an exaggeration, but I kind of just sat around for 38 years and went, okay, well, there goes life. And I don't know how to do that. So okay, cool. I mean, I've had some good times in my life, but it's been very difficult to adult when you've had your soul just completely stripped bare and left with nothing but negative thoughts. So anyways, I'd like to get back to some positives to help heal from coercive control, right? So, because I mean, it's a personal journey for everyone, but it's totally possible, right? You don't have to do it alone. Survivors often describe the process as rebuilding their sense of self piece by piece. So first, reclaiming your identity, which I can relate to personally. It's very important to find yourself outside of what you have been trapped in, be it an abusive relationship, abusive family, abusive bosses, abusive anybody, abusive places in the troubled teen industry, you know, but you can do it. So you start. One of the things I did, and this is something that a therapist helped me with, was uh, he told me to write a letter to my 4-year-old self, because at 4 years old I was SA'd. And I wrote a letter to my 4-year-old self, and about a week later, I'm laying kind of in a I'll lay down sometimes during the day, not napping, but just kind of decompressing, meditating, because this is how I'm able to meditate, because if I'm sitting up, sometimes I'll have a hard time taking deep breaths. That's part of my anxiety. So I'll lay down and breathe. So I was doing this, and then all of a sudden I could picture a door opening inside my mind, and I could hear my 4-year-old self saying, "I've been waiting for you. I'm fine, but you need to let it go." Not let it go. That's a horrible thing to say. I'm really sorry, because I can't stand that term. But you need to allow yourself to heal and not worry about protecting me anymore, because I'm okay. We're okay. So that is something that I did that I found helped me a whole lot. So, start by reconnecting with parts of yourself that were suppressed or silenced, and some of us were entirely silenced, right? I mean, those of you that know my story, I wasn't allowed to smile. I wasn't allowed to interact with the kids. That was their torture, right? Isolation. So, you might want to go back to hobbies that you used to love. Say you used to love to draw. Start drawing. If you love to journal anything. Go for walks, paint, sing, dance. Even if it's just like, around your house. I'm in my 50s and I dance around the house all the time. Well, not right now. Ouch, but I do. So, just reclaim you, basically. Creating safety and stability in your life, right? So if you want to first of all, learn and practice boundaries, I believe. It can be physical, emotional, financial, and then creating like a safety. It's foundational. Oh, I stepped into a hole in my yard while I was doing some yard work, and just kind of crumpled like an accordion onto my foot. Yeah, it was a good time. That was fun. And then I waited until the next day to go to the urgent care, because, I'm stubborn like that. But I'm okay. I'm all right now. I have my boot on. And yeah, so this won't be an epically long stream, because I'm going to have to take my boot off and put my foot back up with some ice here in a little bit. But it was important to me. I made a promise to myself and with some friends, like Lindsay and Cosmic and Misha, helping me get back to my mission, which is my channel. Oh, and for anybody that doesn't know, I got my license plate. I'm so excited. So I got a license plate here in Michigan, and it says End TTI, and it's the coolest. So every time I go out, people will be driving behind me going, End TTI. What's TTI? And then they'll Google it and they'll find out, right? I think it's really fun. So again, with creating safety and stability, we're talking about boundaries, finding secure housing, working with a therapist who understands trauma, EMDR, if you're into that, if it helps you. I do weekly trauma therapy, and it helps me more than I can even put into words. Sammy, hi. Several of you have known me for almost 2 years, some for a year and a half. Some have just met me, but I am a different and more confident version of myself than I was a year ago. And that's growth, you know. And this is also 9 years after I left my abuser. But these are all really important things, and if you ignore them, you're going to stay frozen in a trauma response, and anxiety might keep you from going and doing things you enjoy, like going to a farmer's market or an art fair or a concert, you know, or a beautiful walk through, you know, trails in the woods, or, you know, going kayaking or something. And I feel like our purpose in life is to live it. And the only reason I feel comfortable and confident in saying that is that I spent so many years not doing that, not living, not experiencing, not letting people in, holding everybody off through my 12 layers of protective walls that, you know, go as high as the sky. So, which leads me to building a support network, right? Isolation is the hallmark of coercive control. Everything I read says that very specifically. So you want to find people, and I'm not talking about a large group of people. I mean, you can have a large community and a ton of friends and friendly acquaintances, but find yourself a tight knit group of friends and family if possible. If not, that's okay. Friends are also, hi, voice down under. Thank you for coming over and checking out my channel. But, you know, I'm talking about friends, family, support groups. I have a troubled teen industry survivor support group. We meet once a month. We also do in-person meets. It's really great. But you know, you want to build your support network so that you're not alone. Like if I know that there are people that if they don't hear from me for 2 days, they're on it. Like they know, okay, she's been completely silent for 2 days. Okay, with the exception of 4 months this year when I was going through, you know, the sadness of losing my bonus dad, and you know, having to be very much involved in that. But you know, make sure that you find people that you can trust and you can be open with, and just 100% be yourself. You know, just everything. You know, like I'm actually just letting everybody see the fact that I didn't brush my hair today or anything. I'm coming on here raw. But people that you don't even feel like you need to hide things from, because what's the point? Just like lying. Like I just am incapable of lying anymore, because I can't even remember words in a sentence sometimes. So, and lastly, and I think that the last couple things are really important. One is self-care or self-compassion, because you might feel, you know, guilty, you might feel shame, you might feel confused, you know, but none of that is your fault. So, you know, you want to be compassionate with yourself, and say, like, when you catch yourself feeling guilty or saying something out loud, even to yourself, like, you're an idiot, or why did you do that? That was so stupid. Like, stop and take a moment, you know. Also, I suggest, and by the way, I am not a professional anything. I do not hold any degrees in anything. I'm just a survivor of this life and the difficulties that can come with it. Unfortunately, I mean, I probably have a doctorate in School of Hard Knocks, but they don't give those out. But you want to take care of yourself. Listen, CT is a professional procrastinator. I think a lot of us are. I I literally was, I think, 5 minutes late to my own stream because I got so into. I'm making a music video for the newest song that I just wrote, and I didn't realize what time it was, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get live." But lastly, I want to talk about considering seeking professional help. Therapy has been life saving and life changing for me. EMDR, specifically, a specific type of EMDR works for me, and it's the only one that I've tried, which is you put headphones on, and then you hold paddles in each of your hand, and your therapist will ask you to think of something that's really upsetting you, right? So we'll say, I'll just use mine, right? We'll say, well, my abuser was arrested in March for felony battery, domestic battery by strangulation. Okay, how much is that from a from a 1 to a 10? How much is that upsetting you? And I'll say a 10. And they go, okay, close your eyes. And you close your eyes, and then you hear beeps back and forth between your ears, and that, or yep, and then vibration between the paddles in your hands, and you focus on that. I want to say it's like 30 to 45 seconds you do that, and then you stop, and then they ask you, how do you feel? And say, I would take it down to a 7 now. And they would go, okay, stay with that. And then you do it again. And you just keep doing these just repetitive sounds and feelings that are refocusing, because I know that it's eye movement is part of the eye movement desensitization something. I'm sorry, I forget right now. But it also, it can help you yourself rewire if your eyes are closed and you're getting stimulated on either side of your ears and then in your hands, and you can focus on those things. And then you'll notice, for me, very quickly, that the stress from that can go down to like a 2. And I've walked into EMDR sessions. I'm hoping to be able to start doing that again soon. I've walked into there just ready to put my hand through a wall, just so frustrated and so very upset. See, Johnny has a PhD in PTSD from the School of Hard Knocks. I see you, my buddy. And then I'll walk out, and I don't even care about the issue. And I'm not being extreme here. It's the truth. But you have to put your faith and your trust into the therapy that you're doing and your therapist. Just like with my trauma therapy, I have a lot of trust and care for my therapist. We've seen each other every week for almost a year. We have a really good rapport. She sees me. And sometimes you're going to have to search around for somebody that you feel really comfortable with. But I do suggest therapy of some kind, be it trauma therapy, be it EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, regression therapy, I guess, if you want to do that. I don't dare do that, because every time I have a repressed memory that comes back, it's so bad. I'm not trying to make it happen on purpose, but I'm not trying to talk anybody else out of doing it. Right. I just believe that we can find our boundaries and our inner love through things like, if you're creative, being creative, if and then pairing that with some form of therapy. And if you're not comfortable with therapy, if you're more religiously minded and you want to go talk to your pastor, or if you're Catholic and you want to go talk to your priest or whatever. That really works for a lot of people. I know for my friends that are Jewish, I know that going to their rabbi can be very helpful. For my Muslim friends, I know going to their imam can be very helpful. It just depends on you and your path. So I don't push anything on anyone. I just say, seek help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. One of the reasons that it took me so long to get healthy emotionally, mentally, was I was incapable of asking for help, because when I was young, anytime I would ask for help, I was told no and to leave them alone. So I was programmed not to ask for help. Don't be a bother. Just go away. Just go away. But boundaries, and look for the warning signs too. If you have been, involved in some type of coercive control relationship, you want to, look for the red flags. Take your time to get to know somebody. I mean, I'm not a purist in any way, but first of all, if you just want to like hook up with somebody, cool, whatever. I mean, been there, done that. But friends, intimate partners, people like that, before you want to let them into your heart, you want to make sure that they're not going to stomp all over it, right? And there are red flags that we can look for, right? I don't want to be so vague, though. I'm afraid to like give examples. If anybody has some examples, then listen, T, we've all been through it, right? And whatever it is, nobody gets out of this without scars, Let's see. Christy said, I found self-manifestation and positive affirmations. Yes. Helped with my self-esteem, self-worth, or clearing me. You know what? Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I agree with that. I am a huge fan of manifestation. Not a fan, but a practitioner of manifestation. And I've been doing it for longer than I even realized. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I used to take myself out of my reality in my mind by manifesting. It took a while for me to learn. See what John said. Therapy saved my life, literally. The hardest thing in the world is to admit that you can't do it alone. Once you do, the healing journey can truly begin. I couldn't have said it better. And actually, I can't say it better because your voice is so much better than mine, John. Listen, y'all, for anybody who hasn't heard John's voice, this man has like the perfect late night radio voice. Very soothing, very comforting, deep, very good. Coercive control can happen in friendships. Yep. And Kazi is going through it right now. And it's, there you go. Sorry. Yeah, it's really that. And I want to say too, for people who, maybe you have older parents or something and they have caregivers. It can happen between an elder person and a caregiver. It can happen with kids and babysitters. Like there are so many different dynamics of what coercive control looks like. There's no blueprint except for the behavior. It can happen in any sort of relationship. So, be mindful too for the people in your life or yourself. If you do have people that come and help you out with things at home or do errands for you or whatever, just, be on the lookout for people trying to take advantage of you, because they can do it so subtly. And I'm not saying not to trust people, but I am suggesting that we don't just blindly throw our trust and love to people we don't know. So, but I would like to hear if anyone has any questions or any stories that you want to share in the chat. That's fantastic, because I've kind of come to an end of the initial talk about coercive control. And I'm going to end up, it'll be like a series of these things that happen to people like myself, who live with complex PTSD, um, anyone really, being not neurotypical. I'm still learning some of these phrases because I've only recently even come to terms with anything beyond um, having ADD and PTSD. I know it's called ADHD now, and that's fine. I'm just getting used to saying it because it's not always hyperactivity. Sometimes it's daydreaming. Sometimes it's, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I have a tendency, like there's a spot on my wall here, and I could just stare at that spot, and I'm having a conversation with like 3 people, and I'm doing something, but I'm staring at this spot. And that's another form of disconnection in ADHD. So I'm learning to be more open, because as everyone gets older, you'll learn things are not the way they were when you were young. And you have to accept that, and you have to evolve to not to fit into the world, because I don't give a shit if I fit into the world. Like I'll make my own way, and those who want to be near that will be near that. I'm not falling under any y'all know I don't like boxes. I'm just not, just trauma can also present very similar. Yeah. And that's where it gets kind of confusing for me. And that's why I always make sure, to share that I do have the complex PTSD from childhood, as well as PTSD in adulthood, and ADHD that I was born with. This is really good, Crystal. Thank you. That H can also be a hyperfixation on one thing. Yeah, let me tell you. So when I started to dig deep into my mind, I started to notice that there were ways that I could so hyper focus on something that I would end up being late to my own stream. But yeah, I've decided to make it more of like a my superpower, right? Instead of it being something that weighs me down or keeps me from, getting to the highest heights, or holds me back. I choose to see it as a superpower. And not always, sometimes, I mean, I'll be completely transparent. It's not everything I say is not happening to me all the time. Life is not perfect. Jen, you are truly my sister from another mister. Love you. I love you, brother. You are my brother from another mother. But yeah, you know what? I'm telling you, bro, we got to get together, have a meal, whatever, figure out where's between us, go to one of the cool towns, go downtown, not downtown Detroit, but go somewhere, sit down, have a chat. I mean, it's fantastic that we live nearby. You want me to say that right meow, Kimbe? Right meow? Okay. Meow. I officially love you and your chat. You guys are so real, and that's rare. Well, let me tell you a little something about my chat, Bubbles. If you go to my channel and you go into the description, you go down, I have links to everybody that's here that has a channel is linked, as well as several other of my friends in this community that of people who are sharing our lives here on YouTube and trying to help reach other people. So if you're interested in checking out any of theirs, I highly recommend it. Because if you like me, then you'll probably like them as well. And I also hope that you come back, Bubbles. I do. I'm covering a lot of different things in the coming weeks, because I'm really excited to be back to streaming again. I'm really proud of myself for streaming again. Meow. And don't mind the meow. It's a weird inside joke. It's like something that had been a negative that some of us turned around and turned it into something cute. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I personally like to find a silver lining every day, because if I don't find a silver lining every day and say the whole day is negative, then I'm miserable when I go to sleep. I'm miserable when I wake up the next day. I feel like I'm setting myself up, right? So if I can impart a little bit of wisdom to anybody or everybody, it's just to, even if it's something ridiculous, like, hey, my cup of silver, I like it. It keeps my drink cold. That's a silver lining. Like it can be that simple, right? Um, so yes, if I could just suggest that we all try to find a silver lining in every single day. And thank you. Thanks, Sammy. And then I'm going to go ahead and log off here for the night, but uh, I am going to continue doing the thing. I think I forgot on my last stream, the thing that I have decided when I started my channel to end my streams with is to ask each and every one of you to be kind to one person today. And if you can be kind to one person, if we all can be kind to one person and we do it every day, I believe that we can change the world for the better. So if you're down, you're down. Thank you so very much. I so appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for showing up. And thank you, Bubbles, for finding me. And I hope that you stick around the community. Everybody have a beautiful night. Okay. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I'll see you tomorrow.